before, like visibility, and the other was coming to around 310, and then with that they put a score. You know, you are saying if this happens, you say yes, it happens, and then you have a percentage that end up to 100. Maybe for one, if you're talking of visibility, you have a score of 100%. So once you put yes, depending on the weighted risk value for each of the factors, then you see the score it gives. It is 0, then it's come to 0. Then if you multiply by 1, then you get the figure. And when you add all of them, you get the level of 100. So what I get from these issues, or from these factors, or from these results, is we are trying to look at warning or allowing us, or the people, the professionals who are on the ground. And in this situation, remember, traditionally we have had people physically go to a site, and then all of them, everybody appreciate what they see with their own eyes. But with this matrix, or with this, when we develop now what we are having now in Excel into an app, so that app will have a video or a camera. So you don't need all these experts to visit that site. You only need one person. And with that camera, the person can be the eye of everybody. Some of the experts, one challenge we have is getting more so the most experienced expert to visit a particular site, more so when they're in far-fetched areas or in the remote zones. But now when you have that camera, that person in the comfort of their office, they can appreciate what is there on the site. If it's a building that is cracked, and they want to identify whether this crack is superficial or is structural, they can ask this person with the camera, go to the other side of the wall, and they focus on that. And then they now are able to dissect, they are able to analyze that defect, and they make a conclusion. And with that now we see that's where the matrix now come in. These people will give the output. They will say this is what they are saying. So if it is a structural defect, then that's cover you will be given. So at the end of it, or before this person leave the site, they are able to come, what we were seeing there, that score is already given, that we are having a major failure here. So, and when you are talking now, this is again interfaced with another coordination where, like now, even the police, if we are talking of now stop this site, when it is coordinated, these results also is portrayed in another platform. Now the police are able to see what score that site has been given, where it is, because you also have the geolocation of that place embedded in that matrix or in that app. So everybody can see when you're talking of that site, where is it and what is the condition. So everybody acts. If it is stoppage, it is done real time. If it is something that you need also to inform the contractor, if it is like minor issue, the information come real time. So there is no delay that we have seen that people go for a whole month. Then after a month is the time you are going to get some results. So we are getting that situation. And I think we have seen the advantage of that in the medical sector. You have seen sometimes very experienced experts from other places. They're able to join our theaters, guide the people who are on the theater and helping in a certain complicated operation. So this is the situation we are trying to bring on board in the construction industry, so that we are also moving with or leveraging on the digital technology that we have. Thank you so much.
Ms. Treza, in any construction industry play, we have many players from different professionals, and everybody has their say, and my way is my right and yours is not. How does that interplay? And how can we control that to ensure that one is not disregarded and that would result to what we're trying to address here?
In construction, yes, there does get to be that happening, but that normally happens where there's a lack of leadership, and leadership is derived from is delegated authority from the client to the professionals, and normally it is the lead consultant. If there's a project manager appointed, that should be the person providing leadership. If not, the architect will provide leadership as the project manager as well, and they need to be well versed in terms of what are the site requirements, right? What are the risk management requirements for this site? Because when they have the knowledge, and then therefore they'll be able to give the leadership to the rest of the team, so that everyone gets to have an opportunity to speak to give their points across. One of the ways of making a site safe is that everyone, from the fundi to the person even pushing sand on water, they should be able to say that something is wrong without fear or favor. That is the only way you should be able to know that there's a problem. If there's lack of communication on site, then people will have you'll find someone saying, it's not my business, I'm not the boss here. But everyone, safety starts with you. Any problem on site starts with you. Your greatest risk on site, especially as a contractor, are your workers. If they are not well, if they are not well taken care of, if they suffer any harm, then, as he's saying, the site will be closed because there's been an incident on site. It must be reported to the nearest OSHA office, and they will come and give direction. So these kind of tools are very important, and they need to be disseminated to everyone. What I like to encourage on sites is that you have regular meetings with everyone, if possible every morning, and where there are major meetings every week, including the developers, so that everyone knows what are the possible risk factors that were identified during a certain time frame, what has been done, is it beyond our scope, who do we need to involve to make sure either this risk is avoided completely, it's mitigated, or we completely push it out to someone else. Yeah, and that's why we have insurance. Insurance means we are pushing the risk to someone else, right? Yes.
Thank you. So we cannot undermine the role of communication, the role of a safe, so to speak, environment where you're allowed to voice out your reasoning to the process that it is. So we have to lay down the process as well, which is a good thing that this tool is coming to lay that process as well. Absolutely. So in winding up, I think our time is over. We can all maybe say, how does this early detection tool look like to you? What's the holistic view of it working? Who is going to man it? How are we going to make sure that it's not, how do I put it? It's not infringed by personal reasons, and how do we enroute it to our building process, and how do we see it working in the future?
This is a result of a research that has been undertaken, and this is the process that we have started, the process of dissemination. So for this tool to be effectively used, it means that everybody should see the value of it in terms of what is the final product of it. The final product is for people to have confidence in investment in buildings. That's the main, yeah. And also that now we will have less collapses and failures of buildings. So what it means is that people should see the value of it from that perspective. And I don't think there is any client or any design team or construction team that engages in such a project when they are truthful to end up with a collapse, to lose billions, to have people dying on the site, to have all those calamities you have seen. I don't think there is anybody in his correct mind who would do that. That means if all of us see the faith of the tool and learns how to use the tool and implements it, there are chances that actually will minimize the collapses of building, and that will have a lot of impact and spinning effect on our economy. Because when you talk about that, about 100 buildings have collapsed, it's a loss in our economy. So we should actually engender this process of implementing this tool and actually making it part of our construction in terms of enforcement and in terms of compliance, and also wishing that we score within the lowest margin of risk in terms of there isn't much that is bad is happening on any site, and all sites are safe, and we are actually coming up with quality projects. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm grateful for having me. When we look at this, when we are talking about this platform or the framework, it's not actually an invention. It's actually an innovation, because we are actually just customizing what is available, and it's being used by other sectors that have gone ahead of us in taking up technology to actually move or to make efficient their operations. I look at a situation where we would have sites. When I used to work with Ministry of Public Works, and we would visit sites, and most of the time, because we wanted to to make sure that the contractor is there, to make sure that actually, because we are using our resources, our time, we have to make sure that if we target to go and visit a site, that those we expect to meet are there. So most of the time we inform them. So when you inform a person, then that person will make the site ready, and sometimes they can make it appear what it is actually not. So what you go, you read from that site, or what you analyze and the results you get is not actually the true situation. So we were not able to check up very well that issue of quality. Yeah. But now with this platform, where we don't need all these people, we don't need a lot of planning. We have broken the barrier. We have eliminated the time and the cost constraints. Then we are able to have somebody who is available around that area. Maybe a region representative is able to visit this site, take the information freehand, circulate it. In that way, we are able to clean our acts. Everything is very integral. Like now, there is no cutting corners. So it becomes very easy for us to identify a situation that could lead to a failure and nab it, or what we call it, we eliminate these scenarios early on, because we are able to have truthful or actual real situations that come to us. We analyze them and we make decisions directly. So I think this is the beauty of that, more so making our operation integral. Yeah. So I think that's one of the advantages I would make.
Ms. Trees, do you foresee an event where this tool is being used by contractors as a pitching line, where you've used this tool for X number of projects, failure hasn't occurred, and this is what I do? How do you see it working out in the system?
I see that very, very much. I applaud the team. It is a very wonderful tool as far as I'm concerned. I've read the paper. I've read it quite a number of times, and it is very interesting for me, because this is my view. An early risk detection framework is as equal as saying is an early success of the project, because one, you're going to mitigate the quality issues, and you're going to be working hand in hand early enough to try and make sure quality is assured. Secondly, if quality is assured in advance, then we're also talking about the budget. We'll talk about the costs. They're going to be maintained. We'll talk about the financial implications of this, that this is working towards the success of the project. And lastly, the timeliness of the project will be seen well in advance. You're looking at everything, you've seen, okay, this was going to be an issue, we have sorted that out. The project will be a success. I think this is a very wonderful tool. It's a wonderful way of telling people, let's get on board and work towards the betterment of the construction industry. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess what we are trying to say is that this tool is for us to work together, work better, be better, work smarter as well, reduce losses, promote flow of information amongst us as well, see what is working, what is not working, how can we improve what's not working, and how can we continue to sediment what's working as well. So I think we can have the final remarks and then we can close the session.
Final remark is that NCA has done great work. They have gone beyond probably the ministerial mandate, whereby they go to innovate. You see, people do routine work. Then they have gone to innovate something that goes with the current information age, which is this digital model of how to do early detection. And we look forward for experimentation and also to see how with the time it can be improved and can have more players involved in it. As one of us have said, self-assessment, using that tool, especially for those people who are directly involved in the construction. So it's something that is good, and all of us should embrace it, and should look forward for successful construction industry. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. My final remark would be that we need much more of what we are having now, because NCA has been able now to bring on board the industry and those of us in academia and all the other stakeholders on board. We are here now discussing this matter and something that we have come up to. So we have developed this framework. You have gone through it. You are going to give your own feedback, and we are going to act on those feedback. So if we keep doing what we are doing, not just for this, we escalate it to other aspects, I'm very sure in the near future, we are going to make sure that in our country we have very coordinated action between all agencies, and everybody feel involved or engaged in trying to contribute to make sure that we not only take our, not only take our industry forward, we also know what the industry need, and we incorporate that in our training so that we all work as a team and take our country forward. I'm grateful.
I'd like to say thank you very much for inviting me. I'm glad we are here speaking and discussing solutions. We are not sitting outside somewhere and complaining. We are working towards finding solutions to the problems you have. We have industry smart people working on those solutions, and NCA has provided such a wonderful platform for that. I'd like to thank them for that. I'd also like to challenge NCA. Let us see how this will be implemented. What are the steps going to be taken? How, and within a time frame. Risks. We need this within a time frame so that we don't just talk. Let's say by the time we meet again next year, we have an app, we have this working, it's out in the field, it's building our nation. Thank you very much.
So we'll take about 2 questions from the guys on the floor. So if you have a question, please mention the person who you'd like to ask. We have Professor Rukwara, we have Dr. Murigi, and we have Architect Teresa. Anyone with a question, please? Yes. Let me come to you.
Sorry, why are you laughing my tie? I'm Engineer Evans Goro, the chair of the College of Fellows, Architectural Association of Kenya, and also a senior consultant and a lecturer in the University of Nairobi. Now, I look at the building industry. We are bringing a tool to sort a problem that we are creating. The building industry has no problem. The problem is us who create the problems. If you can guide the developer right, and the guided developer chooses the right consultants, and the consultants do their work, there will be no need of this tool. But because we don't do that, one, we don't guide the developer. We let the developer guide us by telling us the shortcuts he wants to take, and the lead consultants, they know who they are, kind of let him do it. Then the lead consultant guides the developer to choose other consultants who will play that ball game. And with the ball being played, these problems arise. Look at any collapsing project. Forget the project. Look at any collapsing building. Why does it collapse? The lead collapsing fellow is the structural engineer. Because if he played all his cards right, nothing would happen. But sometimes he's suppressed by another leading consultant. Maybe when we have tea, let's talk more.
So where is the question, sir? There is a comment. And I agree. If we stop being individualistic, maybe this will work. Maybe we don't need a tool. Yeah, thank you. Any other question? Sure.
Thank you very much. Thank you, the panelists, for such a wonderful discussion. I listened keenly on the discussion about the findings of the research, and there's one thing that I didn't hear, or maybe if it was mentioned, I missed it. Validation of the tool. Was it ever validated? And I will be, as a person, be interested to know how it has performed, especially on collapsed buildings. I know most of the collapsed buildings, NCA has gathered a lot of data, and if you gave that tool to a different team that was not involved in research, it will be interesting to find out the outcome of the same. Number two, related to what my senior has just said, issues of competencies of staff. Well, I didn't also quite hear about that. I know that during registration of contractors by NCA, it's usually a very serious requirement. But do we ever follow up to find out that the contractor is actually using qualified staff on site? If you come to our offices as consultants, you'll always see our certificates pinned on the walls. Is there a way we can also come up with, is there a way we can do it so that even the contractor can pin this, the certificates and the credentials of the staff that are on site? Because if you can walk on site and tell the foreman that or the site agent that you need a mixed design, and they don't seem to understand what a mixed design is, then it paints a bigger problem, a picture of a bigger problem in the construction industry. I had other comments, but let me stop there in the interest of time.
Thank you. I believe question one, Dr. Murigi can take it. How did we validate the tool if it was validated?
Thank you so much. We have come up with the research. We said what we need to develop. We said we need to develop a framework. That was the recommendation. And we have seen the matrix. So as for the app has not been developed. The app will now be developed from the information that we have, though we have engaged some people who have given us something which we are looking at, but we have not come up directly with, say, this is the app, so that now it go for testing, and then we validate it. So that has not been done, so we've not reached there. That's what I'm saying. Our research mostly built into another, so this one of ours now is building into that. So the next phase will be now development of that now app.
And I believe, sorry, yes, your question two would probably be to NCA, not to the panel, right? How does they confirm the validity and the realness of that license? Does it actually mean what it should mean? So I suppose with regard to your question one, it's work in process. They haven't validated the tool yet.
Right, thank you. Do I have to stand? Okay, thank you very much, Bwana Murigi. My name is Moses Opio from Kenyatta University. Is a colleague. Professor Kwaro, I salute you. Goro, my senior, I salute you too. Now, I'll talk about the project. Very good project. However, I've got some questions that I wanted to ask, and these questions are: as a Christian, not all sins are equal. Some sins are more. The same way with risks, right? What I wanted to know is on the weighting, there are some risks that are more riskier than others, so that now create another column for weighting of risks, right? Because we are doing a project on site selection, and we look at the environmental issues, we look at the, like all carrier, for example. You see, you're talking about now the gases, sulfide, and all that. So some risks are more than others. So create another avenue where you can now weight those risks, so that not all risks are from 0 to 5. They could all be from 0 to 5, but some are more like 100% of 0 or 5. Okay, that's just my suggestion. Another one is this project here can be elevated now to use AI, like object detection, like what Murigi said. Once you take a photograph and it detects the size of the crack, then from there it raises a red flag. Now that is an area which need to be explored also. Finally, I see that now this it was premised on visual observation. I wanted you to include also the NDT, non-destructive testing, also as a component, because now I think one colleague here asked about the verification or something like that. Now let's include also non-destructive testing as a part of, so as to make it more quality, so that in the market, I know there are some in the market already, but now we want to domesticate it to our scenario here. I said finally, but I want to disagree with Goro on one thing. There is no country with no prisoner. You never go to any country and find the prisons empty. You only find people will always make mistakes. Temptations are there, and so we need this tool. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it's the last question.
Thank you very much. My name is Makadimo Mwenda, and thank you for this insightful research. Just two concerns: the pre-stage, the point of site selection, because some of the, before you go to implementation, some of the projects have collapsed because of unsuitable sites. So what, from the beginning, before that happens, how is the app anticipating to deal with the, or the tool to deal with the at the point of site selection and the parties involved? Then the other one is enforcement, because standards are known. Most of the professionals involved are very well trained on standards and for design and all that, but enforcement by the various agencies, even at the approval stage and what follows up from the planning department, how is the hub going to be integrated to deal with the enforcement and to ensure that one hand knows what the other has done? Because mostly what we see are the X's on site. At least there's an X and there's the sign of NCA if somebody has been there, but sometimes all the other players in the chain that are to be involved in the enforcement are not aware. So how can the hub help in integrating and alerting the people in the chain and the ones dealing with enforcement?
Excuse me. Hi, my name is Ken. I think we should have one from the contractors, because we have had most from the research team. We'll be the people at the bottom of the pyramid. Once you come up with these guidelines, we need to have a possible cost implication in observation or in adherence, when you're adhering to these kind of procedures you brought in. Because if it's have cost implication, it means either it eats into the contractors' margins. So for that reason, we either need to, because most clients think NCA compliance is free. If you ask them, the NCA will say registering a project is free. So they think there's no cost associated with that. But if there's cost that are going to be associated with these adherents. We'd want to see that in the research, so that maybe like we have for OSHA now, it's part of the preliminaries because of the cost that that occurred due to adherence to safety and all that. Can we have the same as you develop this cost implication to the contractor for observing the same?
Thank you very much. My name is Samuel Nyanchoga from the Catholic University of Eastern Africa, and I want to really appreciate what the researchers have done in terms of coming up with the tool, and we want to commend you for the work that you are doing. Since this is an academic exercise, I think it's important that we also interrogate the processes through which this research has gone through. I want, first of all, mine, they're just comments, not questions. Remember that construction industry takes place in a political economy environment, and you are designing a tool for the purpose of quality. It's also important to look that there are extra quality issues that will really affect a building. Let us not look at the building in terms of collapse because it lacks, the structural aspect or the structural integrity. Okay? For example, what are the cultural threats? Because you are looking at a risk is a threat. If you do not address it, it becomes a hazard. Okay? So what are the cultural extra quality issues that are structural, that are cultural, for example? You might erect a building in a place that is contested, and then you see demolition. People literally demolishing buildings, okay? That is an issue that you need to look at, because if you are designing a tool, it must be a comprehensive tool that really captures that. Land in Kenya is a very emotive issue, okay? And we have seen a lot of conflict that is rotating around land, okay? So the integrity of some of these buildings have also been contested because, people contest that, you are building, you are erecting a structure in a place that is not yours, okay? That can be collapsed. There are issues of environment, and I think this was raised. I don't know whether you considered climate change and environmental issues, whether these have been captured in your tool. And then the other issue that I didn't hear about is about the ethical issues. The ethical issues that really surround the entire process. For example, how do you report, okay, on a structure that is collapsing? What are the ethical issues that are considered in every stage, okay, as you either condemn a building, okay, or you report it for demolition, or you report it to the police? Were there ethical issues that were taken into consideration? Okay, did you also consider the aspect of counseling, for example? Because you see, it involves people who have invested money, okay? And sometimes this building collapses not because of mistakes of their own, but because of the mistakes of others. Were issues of counseling considered when you were doing your research? And then the other issue that I also wanted to look at, your sampling flame. Where did you conduct your research, for instance? What was the sample size in terms of observable objects and also the respondents? I thought that, listening to you very well from the beginning, that your respondents was actually skewed towards professionals. I don't know whether you interviewed non-professionals, okay? Was this done, in an urban area, very urban? Was it done in Nairobi? Did you involve maybe other people who are not necessarily professionals? And I think the last one is, yes, the tool has been developed, and we know NCA has done a lot of work. It's commendable, but also there has been a lot of criticism of the authority for lack of, stringency on issues, of inspection of the buildings. To what extent can you maybe, as you develop this tool, could you ensure that there is compliance? To what extent can this tool be complied with? Are you seeking further legal framework, or you are simply developing a tool, you know, for the purpose of the NCA? Is there any extra legal framework that is required to ensure that this tool, you know, will be complied with? So those are some of the comments I thought maybe you can consider as you develop it, but we really appreciate what you've done.
Thank you very much. I believe this research was carried countrywide. In all the research was carried countrywide in all the 47 counties. Live projects whose contractors are registered by NCA, and they interviewed whoever they met on site, both professionals and non-professional. If you do get access to the document, it shows you the percentage of who they met in site between. I believe it's online. That's what you said. Not yet. Oh, okay, sorry. But yes, it was carried countrywide though. So Professor, maybe you can address some of his questions he asked in terms of data. Did we cater for ethical data?
Any research that one is doing is starting creating a niche in an area. So when we are doing the reviews, the data that we captured, or the variables that we captured, were more to do with the standards, building controls, and there isn't a lot that we captured on ethical issues. Any research has limitations in findings, and as one of our colleagues have said, we start, okay, and then we can improve the tool over time. There are a lot of programming issues that will come into play to bring in many participants in terms of who is involved and the alert, awareness to different regulatory agencies and so on. So this is an idea, and all of us are part and parcel of its success. And the ideas that different contributors have said actually enhancing the tool, and those are things that we'll keep on addressing and profiling what we have done, what we have now done, what we can do now, what can be done in the future research. Otherwise, that's what I would say. And I think there's quite a lot that each of you have said, and I think we are taking notes, and those are some of the things that we'll be addressing. But what we have given you is a niche within research that can actually be improved, and we can start working with something that we can continue improving with time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your comments. Please, a round of applause for my panelist members. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll take a short break. And just want to let you know that there are some booths out here. Some of our partners who have supported us. Please do visit those booths so that you can see what they have for you. We shall be back at 12:25. So you have, it's now 12:10. Let's be back at 12:25. Just grab a cup of tea and come. We shall be immediately commencing on the other presentation from David Lagat, development of a coordination framework for quality assurance. So please don't miss that one. So we're free, short break, grab a cup of tea, then come back. Remember to visit the booths out there for our partners so that you can see what is in store for you. Thank you very much and enjoy. Thank you.
Art is a form of expression that evokes emotion, it inspires change, and enriches our lives. It celebrates the human form and showcases boundless creativity and imagination. Welcome to the Investec Cape Town Art Fair. But before we get into all the art, we meet a group of friends reclaiming the streets of Johannesburg with bikes. We find out how Agnes Mandazi is changing the narrative for interior design in Malawi. We then see how two sisters from Cameroon are making traditional German dirndls with African fabrics. I'm Balisa Dembe, and this is AfriMax. Afrofuturism is a mix of sci-fi, history, fantasy, and African culture that looks at the future of people of African descent. Introducing a man who is revolutionizing product design in Nigeria with this genre.
Why is Afrofuturism the next trend in interior design? We ask Josh Egesi, a young designer and founder of Ike Woodworks and Artistry.
I feel like a lot of things were taken away from Africa, and there was a sort of a pause in the development of African culture.
Afrofuturism is a genre that centers on Black history and culture and incorporates science fiction, technology, and futuristic elements into literature, music, and the visual arts.
Afrofuturism is a movement that takes from what is Africa and what is African and fuses it with modernism, contemporary culture. It's a collection of all these elements from my forefathers and my fathers, and making it something that works with my own aesthetics to create something that would benefit Africans or benefit the world at large. Just watch out for the lines. All right. Yeah. We're currently setting up to build one of our very popular products, which is the Ikena vintage fan, the tripod fan. I feel like all my products are very personal to me because they hold different stories at different points in my life. But the one that has been engraved deep in my heart is the glass version of the Ayo bench.
Ayo is a traditional game popular among the Yoruba people of Western Nigeria. It's a game that requires a lot of brain power and mathematical skill. Ayo is played in a carved wooden box containing 12 holes, 6 holes on each side, and 48 Ayo seeds, 4 seeds in each hole.
So the idea for me was to curb the problem of balance. Yeah, so I had the Ayo on one side and I had a magazine holder on the other side just to create that balance. But at the same time, it also served as an aesthetic piece for any living space. That would definitely work in a park. I started Afrofuturistic product design as a journey. It's not something I just decided, oh, okay, let me start designing African-inspired products. I was working at a client's space and I had a need for a product that had to work for the space. And then I decided, okay, this need is actually not just my need. There are a lot of other people that are looking for something that resonates with them, because what we design goes beyond what we just see. This is the brace, and this is the cap. This is just basic shape right now, but we're still going to fine-tune it to have all these finely finished edges to make it look aesthetically appealing. Majorly, the materials I use are wood. Initially, I started with disposed wood, that's pine, imported goods, but I recently changed the kind of wood I use to local wood because of the narrative I'm trying to drive. But I've explored other materials like plexiglass, I've explored metal, I've explored so many other materials. They hold this in place like this.
Presently, Josh Egesi's designs are so in demand they're all in private hands. He takes pride in the fact that the growth of Afrofuturistic art has grown, and art collectors in Nigeria are not holding back the money to pay for such art.
I see something I find interesting, I take a picture, I just archive it. The fan, for instance, started as a need for a space. Coming up with ideas is just a supernatural process. That storytelling, that spiritual depth, and all these things are what you get with an African design. So this is a completely assembled piece of the tripod fan. Yeah. So this is the fan, and this goes on top of this. Right now I'm just looking to perfect my product, get into different places, like meet the right audience. This is basically what the fan looks like. It has been lucrative. Like my bestseller is the fan. I put it up on my social media one time asking if anybody was interested in buying. I put out a pre-order listing on my social media, and in 2 days I actually sold out the 10 fans that I had made. I've sold over 150 units of that fan in the space of 2 years. Apart from product design, I paint. I function in the art space, the fashion space, the engineering space, tech. So I'm not limited by art style or by medium or by industry or any of these things.
The concept of Afrofuturism aims to break from Western modernity, giving the African artist a voice to speak and a platform to express the true African ambition. George Ikesi and his product designs are in the forefront of this movement.
Today marks the 10-year anniversary of the Investec Cape Town Art Fair, the largest contemporary art fair in Africa, held in Cape Town. With 106 exhibitors, it attracts 23,000 visitors and is a platform for international art professionals to connect. I'm now joined by Laura Vincetti, the art fair director. Laura, lovely to see you.
Hi, Felisa. Lovely to see you.
Now, can you just tell us a little bit about the art fair? What's it all about?
So, we celebrate our 10th anniversary this year, so it's an important year. The fair started very humbly. It was a local fair, very small, and then it grew like exponentially over the years. It has become the most important and the biggest art fair of contemporary art in Africa.
Beautiful. And this year's theme is time. Can you tell us a little bit more about the theme?
Yeah, so we thought it's the 10th anniversary, so it's the right time to reflect on time. And we say to our curators, that's the theme, please answer whatever you want, and of course it has to be consistent. So they answered in different way. We have like an answer to time for tomorrow's today that is relating to how feelings and affections reflects the passing of time, that is for the emerging section, or the different answer from different media to the concept of time.
So moving forward, in terms of the future of the art fair, where's your vision at? Where do you see it going?
So for sure we want to become bigger and larger, but in my vision it has to become a hub. It has to become something that will activate the city for at least 1 or 2 weeks. So we really want to engage with the local community, with the local institution, with museum, artists, to create like an exciting week.
Thank you so much, Laura, for stopping by and having a word with us.
Thank you, Pelisa.
A group of friends cycling through Johannesburg has now become a thriving business that reclaims the streets and brings people from diverse backgrounds together.
Reclaiming the streets. That's what urban cycling is all about.
Urban cycling feels like the biggest adventure when you're like a kid. That's the best way to capture it. Feels like, yeah, an adventure and you're a kid just riding around. That's what it feels like. Cycling is looked down upon as a mode of transport because it's usually looked as a thing that poor people do, you know, and not what a typical working class person would do. The reason I think we should get more people on bikes is because of health benefits, a greener economy, and better cities that we get to live in. You know, the less cars we have on the roads, the more people we have on bicycles, makes for a happier city. It's ready to get more people on bicycles. Young, small, old, black, white, colored, all races, everybody on bicycles. That's what differentiates us as a crew. It's our diversity. We have a meeting point where we speak about the route we're going to take, and we either cycle in Soweto or we cycle in the CBD, and we cycle out, maybe stop somewhere, get a coffee or a drink, and we carry on cycling and finally end up at like a nice restaurant. It's really just about gelling together and socializing. So with Biking Bandits, you cycle as you are. You're riding for the destination and not the activity. So we don't wear spandex or lycra or anything like that. We come in jeans, we come in shorts, we come in anything that feels comfortable for us to ride in. It's like a mishmash and a representation of what Joburg looks like as a melting pot.
What started as regular training for better health and meeting as a group of a few best friends has now developed into regular social gatherings to unwind after work.
I've seen people who've never met, never known each other, and they lived in the same hood, meet on a bike ride, and now they're like the best of friends, all because of that, you know. And I think that coming together bridges the gaps between us as a people. I mean, I think you know what the landscape of South Africa looks like, and we're like a microcosm of that. So we're trying to bring more people together to really just find each other and see that they actually really all relate.
Apart from cycling, the Bandits are pros at repairing, maintaining and restoring bikes. Even a new business idea was born out of the group, hiring out bicycles and getting into doing city tours as well. But the focus is not on profit, but on friendship.
Since I met the guys from Biking Bandits and started joining the rides, they definitely went from strangers to friends, and yeah, some of my best friends now I met through cycling.
The group of Biking Bandits people who had actually joined us in the past years, they have changed my life quite drastically, I should say, you know. You become humble. They, you know, meeting new people and how they actually teach you of what they know and what you don't know. It mostly humbles you to saying that I'm willing to learn, and that's what I've actually loved quite a lot, yeah.
Bandits have come a long way, and they're about to take over the streets of Johannesburg with their next gathering.
Recently, we've taken over Critical Mass that happens on first Thursdays, where we get everyone and anyone on a bicycle to ride in the city at night. And these will be places like Hillbrow and other deeper parts of Joburg that nobody would go to on any random day. It's not as dangerous as people think. The idea is so that people know that Joburg also belongs to them as well, and they should come back and visit it and see it, you know. It belongs to all of us.
What a great way of exploring the city and making lifelong friendships. Now, Black representation in art is important because it promotes visibility, diversity and inclusion, whilst challenging stereotypes and empowering Black artists. And a pioneering artist doing exactly that is Zandile Shabalala. Hi, Zandile.
Hi, Melissa. How are you?
I am fantastic being able to stand within your booth amongst all this color. I mean, you are one artist who is definitely breaking stereotypes and exposing and representing black women in art and in art history. Tell us more about that.
So I think my desire to represent artists, well, black women in my art is quite simple. And it stems from just engaging with art history and seeing the imagery that I was seeing, which was not very inclusive of the kind of black women I think we need to see, especially in this particular time. And that's just black women living their everyday lives and really just sharing different perspectives to their desires, themselves, maybe even the self that they sort of like desire or want to be. And I think that seeing that there was a bit of gap with the art history or painting that I was engaging with and the time now, I just thought that it would be nice to sort of like depict the kind of women that I would like to see. Yeah.
Absolutely, Zandile. Now, looking at your specific artwork and art piece and installation here today, what's your favorite and why?
Yeah, so I think in this particular booth or this body of work, my particular favorite work is titled Unana, Umqimbi Unana, and it is sort of like a depiction of myself and my family members, my mom, my grandmother, and my younger brother. But I think the work is very, very much different from the works that I've been doing previously because it's a bit more looser in terms of brush strokes and a bit more fun. It doesn't really take itself too seriously. And I think when I was thinking about this particular work, especially in the context of this body of work, I was thinking to myself, how do we, like, if Onana Yangami were to paint something or depict something, what would it look like? And I think it would be very expressive and not very serious, but still very intentional. And yeah, I think of it as sort of like a love letter to myself and also a coming of age or woman for myself. Yeah, so that's my favorite piece.
Well, beautiful. Thank you so much, Zandile, for having us. Setting accents with colors is also what makes a part of Agnes Bandazi's work. She has set herself with the task of establishing interior design in Malawi.
Malawi is known for a lot of beautiful things. We are known for our lakes, our beautiful culture, a lot of beautiful people, but interior design is not one of them. And I'm here to change the narrative.
Agnes Bandazi is a Malawian businesswoman who is setting a new bar for local interior design.
This is at a cafe/restaurant. My client wanted something interesting with her space. She wanted the place to be very creative. She likes bright colors and she's an over creative person herself as well. I came up with this pattern. So we did all this pattern in a very big, there's bold colors like greens and, there's black in there. We just wanted this to be a feature wall. As you're coming into the restaurant, we wanted people to first see this design before they even get to go inside. We decided to include these beautiful lanterns in also supporting our local artisans in Malawi. We painted them black to sort of like tie in with the whole design and the feeling and the ambience of the space as well. It's quite a beautiful piece, and we decided to add that natural rope from the ceiling down to where people can see it, just to sort of like tie in the whole design together.
It took 6 weeks to renovate this old house into a trendy modern cafe. Malawi is a net importer, which means that the cost of soft furnishings and home decor items comes at a premium. Sourcing therefore requires innovation. By working with local artisans and crafters, she's able to create bespoke pieces for the spaces she's working in.
Do you think you can actually find a fireplace here, like the artificial fireplace?
No. I don't think we can find it locally, but we can order it. It's going to take about maybe 3 weeks or a month. Okay, so we have 6 spots here, and then the fireplace, and then this is for the entertainment system, and then TV. Okay, let me just do a little scribbling here, and then I'll show you what I can sketch from here.
All right.
Then maybe I should see if it's going to be proportional with your boxes as well.
All right,
okay.
That's good. I started my interior design business as a hobby. I started making cushions for friends and family and co-workers. So I used to make them myself at first and then sell them to those people. And then afterwards, I started home renovations. That's when I started getting clients. I decided to add a little bit of pieces to this space. For example, I'm adding this little throw for texture. As you can see that a lot of my furniture is gray, and I like to keep it, the base very neutral. I don't like a place to just be blank. I just wanted you to have visual interest. So that's why I brought in this wallpaper, just to give you that visual interest as well. I was just driving around and I saw these little branches and I thought, well, that can be something pretty. So that's what I love to do. I love to be innovative. I love to look outside, think outside the box when I'm thinking about interior design. I try to put myself in my clients' shoes. I have to think about bringing the vision to life, their vision to life, not mine. I'm there to advise. If my client wants something that does not work with their space, to advise them to change it. But I'm glad and lucky to have clients that completely trust me, and some have actually literally just told me that do whatever you like with the space. So it's always nice to be trusted like that. But you always have to find the balance between your own personal style and the client as well. I have worked on a lot of home renovations. I have also worked on cafes and new builds and also luxury apartments. I'm currently working on some luxury apartments. I've also worked in offices as well, so I can say that I work in a lot of areas. So this doesn't fit in the aesthetic of the room, so I'd like to change it a little bit more modern. I do love the art itself, but it was damaged, so it's not like we're destroying any art. So I'm just trying to make some art out of this because I love to DIY. So let me show you what I can do with it. We are trying to make it look luxurious, like those kind of photos you see in the hotels. So we start by just plastering this whole art piece.
Looking at the beautiful work of interior designers such as Agnes Bandazi, there is hope for a reimagined African aesthetic that is not only modern, but is also authentically African.
With interior design like that, there is no stopping Agnes Bandazi. Now, two sisters who are adding a unique touch to their creations. They create traditional German dresses known as dirndls from African fabrics and vibrant patterns as a nod to their birthplace, Cameroon.
This dirndl is made of colourful African fabrics, but cut to look like traditional Bavarian garb. It's the work of sisters Marie Darouish and Ramé Wetterich from Cameroon. Their label, Noné, has been designing dirndl à l'Africaine since 2010 in Munich.
My mother was a tailor herself, and I come from a dynasty of tailors. I crawled around in fabrics as a child. Fabric is what I know. My mother used to sew my clothes in Cameroon. That's what we know.
The inspiration for their craft didn't come just from their mother. Even their great-grandmother and grandmother were tailors. And although the sisters have been living in Germany for 40 years, they're still deeply connected to their African culture.
What I love about my work is that we connect people. I'm a connection myself. My father is a Kurd and my mother is from Cameroon. And I connect, I don't divide. I feel our work with dirndls is going in just the right direction. We use clothing to connect cultures and people.
This is Benin in Western Africa. After over a decade of producing dirndls in Germany, the sisters moved their production to Africa in 2022.
We never thought we'd actually produce a dirndl in Africa. That's really special to us. It's a traditional garment and not at all easy to sew. This piping is very, very hard to integrate. And only our master tailors handle that. It's so great that we really have a product here that is made in Benin.
They work together with a charity to have all the dirndls made in Natitangu, in northwestern Benin. Here, young people who would normally struggle to access education receive vocational training.
The trainees learn the craft of tailoring. And sewing a dirndl is, of course, an elite exercise in tailoring. What we offer is really an integrated work-study training program.
The dirndl à l'Africaine is an article of clothing that connects together two cultures and two continents.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, sticking to today's theme of time, I still have some to check out some incredible artworks. So don't be a stranger and head over to our socials for more. See you soon.
How are you?
Arrivals at the Mara. Tourists can either get here by road or air, with both options having their strong points. Those arriving by road connect to the reserve through the busy Narok Highway.
Hi, how are you? I want to go to Mara Center. So what is your admission fee?
By air, the journey takes roughly 30 minutes from Kenya's capital city, Nairobi. On arrival, a first-class reception welcomes them to Masai land. And only then can an experience in the Mara wilds begin.
Jumbo, can I take some tea, please?
Yes.
As characterized by the gently rolling savanna plains, the neighboring Maasai community named the reserve Mara, meaning spotted. This is evidenced by the circles of trees, scrubs and cloud shadows that mark the area. The reserve lies in the greater Mara Serengeti ecosystem that has been favored by natural streams, vegetation and pasture, making the area suitable for wildlife habitation. It borders the Ngama Hills on the east and the Olololo escarpment on the west. Tourists prying the exciting ecosystem will be enlightened to note that although the Mara is widely an extension of the Serengeti National Park in Tanzania, it covers only a third of the ecosystem.
The Masai Mara Game Reserve, the current size is 1,510 square kilometers. But outside the reserve, which is the community land, which we refer as the dispersal area, it is over 6,000 square kilometers.
But it is this smaller area that has been declared internationally as the ecosystem with the largest concentration of wildlife the world over.
Mara itself was gazetted in 1961 as a game reserve then. Otherwise, before then, it used to be the dry season for the Masai community. They will come here during the dry season, and then when it rains, they move out into other areas.
It hosts a myriad of wildlife, such as the Big Five, rare reptiles, small game like the topi, Grant's gazelle, and bird life. In here, animal movement is dictated by search for water, pasture, prey, and shade. Therefore, species of a kind are normally to be found in their vegetation zone. The wildlife and scenery at the Mara has set it up both as a top tourist and filming destination. Indeed, international movies such as Out of Africa, inspired by the wilderness theme, have been shot here. Also, BBC has had a long-running wildlife series shot fully in the Mara as a producer of the national history in England explains.
I'm coming here now making a two-part film on lions and the new truth, the science behind lions and about what they do. But I've been coming here every year pretty much since 2003, usually in around about September time to film the migration, and mainly because we've been filming Big Cat Diary and Big Cat Week here for the BBC for all of those years, which has proved hugely popular both in the UK and in the United States and in Australia. And I know people in Kenya have also been able to watch that programme that we've been making.
But to fully enjoy the Mara experience, a trip is well advised during the wildebeest migration season. Internationally touted as the 8th wonder of the world, the event occurs during the months of July to early September. During this historic moment, wildebeests, accompanied by their partners, zebras, attempt to cross the crocodile-infested Mara River in the quest for fresh pasture. At this juncture, the animals are Mara-bound as the grass is abundant and lush as a result of the just concluded rainy spell. Wildebeests are always on the move and follow a migratory circuit. And although highly dictated by the search for fresh pastures, their arrival in the Mara also coincides with their calving season. And as they make great prey for the curds, they move in herds with the zebras beside them. Another special treat that is being offered to tourists by a Mara stakeholder is a hot air balloon safari. For a balloon morning, the company vans pick up tourists from their lodges before dawn, shuttling them to the takeoff venue.
There, feet up in front of you, holding on to the rope. Okay, you guys climb in last. Okay, let's go. Basket ends up getting thrown around with you trying to get it.
And after a safety briefing from the captains, the tourists are soon airborne. The Go Ballooning Safari Company prepares a 1-hour trip every morning, flying tourists over the Mara for a fee.
For people who have never flown in a balloon before, I can tell you it is the absolute best way to view the Masai Mara. The scenery is beautiful, the weather is always very good and consistently good. And, well, the animals, they speak for themselves.
On landing, they are escorted to a scenic spot for a well-spread-out champagne breakfast in the wild. And as they enjoy the trimmings of a good meal, they exchange notes on their various experiences atop the balloons. But it is not only the wildlife aspect that sets the Mara apart from its peers. For as the name suggests, the Masai community have a lot to do with the running and prosperity of the reserve.
Community around support us very much in terms of security and also supporting the reserve, because they realize this reserve belongs to them. The reserve, without Masai Mara, they also know that at least whatever amount they are getting in their dispersal area in terms of bed night fee or camping fee or royalties in their conservancy, they will not get that. So they all know the importance of the reserve, and they all support us very, 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 very much.
They've taken the reserve a notch higher as they've brought in the aspect of cultural tourism. The community has remained in the limelight for their unchanging cultural practices that have withstood time. But to better remain relevant in modern times, they've packed their culture as an attraction. And through their sale of shukas, sculptures and beadwork, they hold on to their ways while also eking a livelihood for their families. The Maasai and their relationship with the animals has remained a wonder to many a tourist. Known for their pastoral roots, they've managed to exist at the periphery of the park in a perfect relationship with the wild. And in turn, they've benefited also from their close proximity to the park, as the chief warden explains.
The investor that have invested, the viewing fees goes to the local people, because they have leased, or else they have leased their land for wildlife conservation. So in terms, they are paid, and they are paid in terms of monthly or annual basis. We also give something like 19%. 19% of what we collect from the gate collection also goes back again to the community surrounding us and beyond.
Within and outside the reserve, also referred to as the dispersal areas, leisure resorts have been put up, all offering diverse accommodation facilities. A good example is the Kikorok Lodge, situated several kilometers from the Sekenani main gate. Other than having a scenic view of the grounds and a hippo pond, the lodge also boasts of a rich historical background, as a front office manager tells us.
It's very unique to other lodges in Mara, because this was the first lodge in Masai Mara, and it was opened way back in 1965 by the first president of Kenya, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta.
Another luxury resort is the Sekenani camp, safely ensconced in the dispersal area. Built in the model of a permanent tent, these self-contained rooms come in singles, doubles, and the honeymooners' suite. By the thriving of Masai Mara as an international wildlife safari destination, the reserve has been categorized among premium parks in the continent. This has been further evidenced by an influx of tourists, especially during the high seasons. Also, stakeholders in the sector have noted a change in the tourism patterns, as Natal Leshan informs us.
At the moment, we are undergoing a high season. That's why we have many guests staying with us. Normally, high season starts from June to March, and low season starts from April to May. Most of the clans do come from Europe, and also we have lots of Chinese coming in because nowadays we have a big Chinese market, and that's why we are also receiving so many Chinese guests from China.
With the continued prosperity and success of the reserve, tourists are assured of a worthwhile travel package. And it is this package that has set the Mara above her peers, making it a top destination the world over.
I came to Africa because I have always wanted to see the animals in the wild. I watch the Animal Planet television program and National Geographic, which shows a lot of these African animal experiences, and I wanted to come to Africa to see it myself. I've been in Kenya now for I think 3 days. I find Africa extremely interesting, not just the animals but the people. I'm finding the people and the culture very interesting too. Very nice to be out here in the wilderness. I'm sitting on the front porch of this tent, a permanent tent, and I can look right out on the horizon and see wild animals right out there.
Jumbo, jumbo. Jumbo.
Welcome to East Africa. This is Safari Rally Kenya.
The WRC Safari Rally is set for June 22nd to June 25th in Naivasha. This year's event, the 7th leg of the WRC calendar, consisting of 19 stages, will see drivers, among them defending champion and series leader Khalid Van Pera,